Today's reporting is another news roundup piece with a focus on turbulence incidents, as well as a tragic incident where an individual was killed after being sucked into the engine of an aircraft at Amsterdam's Schiphol airport. At least at the time of making this video, the individual has not been identified, but this is likely to change soon as the investigation gets underway. We first begin with the incidences of severe turbulence resulting in injuries. There has been a lot more attention to these types of incidents since the extreme case involving a Singapore Airlines flight on May 21st. Indeed, days later, on an unspecified date, a Turkish Airlines Airbus A321 flight from Istanbul to Izmir faced severe turbulence, enough to cause a significant injury to a cabin crew member. According to a report by the Hurriyet Daily News, the plane experienced sudden turbulence shortly after the pilot turned on the sign to fasten the seatbelts. Flight attendants are often the most vulnerable in such situations as they perform other flight duties and may not reach their seats in time to avoid injuries. In the case of this Turkish incident, a flight attendant who was just 2 months into the job was flung to the ceiling before falling hard on the floor, suffering from a broken backbone. The incident reportedly took place on flight TK-2320, a short domestic hop with a duration of less than an hour. On Sunday, May 27th, a Qatar Airways Boeing 7879 Dreamliner experienced extreme turbulence which injured 6 passengers and 6 crew members. The incident took place on board flight QR017 from Doha to Dublin and reportedly occurred over Turkish airspace. Upon landing in Ireland, the aircraft was met by emergency services. In total, 6 passengers and 6 crew sustained injuries in the incident. According to AP News, one passenger told Irish broadcaster RTE that he saw people, quote, hitting the roof and that there was food and drink flying everywhere. Another traveller told RTE that after the turbulence, some of the flight attendants I saw, they had scratches on their face, they had ice to their face. There was one girl that had a sling on her arm. Qatar Airways has since informed Simple Flying that the injuries are minor. Still, the flag carrier of Qatar has highlighted that those affected are receiving medical attention and that safety remains its top priority. Going back to the Singapore Airlines incident of May 21st that tragically resulted in the death of one passenger, we can report that the Boeing 777-300ER that was involved returned to its main base at Singapore Changi Airport several days later on May 26th. The aircraft is registered 9 Victor Sierra Whiskey Mike and stands out in the airline's fleet with its Star Alliance livery. More recently, the Singaporean Ministry of Transport published its initial findings into the severe turbulence incident. These findings are based on data received from the aircraft's Flight Data Recorder, or FDR, and Cockpit Voice Recorder, or CVR. The ministry pointed out that the National Transportation Safety Board, Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, and Boeing assisted with the investigation. One part of the report states the following: the rapid changes in G, gravitational force, over the 4.6-second duration resulted in an altitude drop of 178 feet, or 54 meters, from 37,362 feet to 37,184 feet. This sequence of events likely caused the injuries to the crew and passengers. Initially, over 100 passengers and crew were taken to the hospital for treatment after diverting to Bangkok. Those with non-severe injuries were discharged and the number was down to 46 passengers and 2 crew several days later. It was noted that a total of 22 passengers have spinal cord damage and another 6 suffered brain and skull injuries. Of the passengers in critical care, there are 6 British, 6 Malaysian, 3 Australians, 2 Singaporeans and 1 individual each from Hong Kong, New Zealand and the Philippines. Singapore Airlines will revise its seatbelt policy on board flights, with the carrier confirming that it would suspend the service of hot drinks and meals when the seatbelt sign is on. Singapore Airlines added that its cabin crew members will continue advising passengers to remain in their seats with their seatbelts secured as part of a more cautious approach to managing in-flight turbulence. Despite all of these recent occurrences of severe turbulence, air travel remains one of the safest forms of transportation. That being said, many experts believe that climate change is making clear air turbulence more common. Speaking with the BBC, Paul Williams, an atmospheric scientist at the University of Reading, said, "In simple terms, climate change is increasing the temperature difference between the warm and cold air masses that collide to form the jet stream in the upper atmosphere. This effect is making the jet stream less stable and allowing more turbulence to break out." All of this serves as a strong reminder to keep your seatbelt fastened during the flight, even if the seatbelt sign is not illuminated. Our final story today involves a person killed at Amsterdam Schiphol Airport on May 29th after falling into a running aircraft engine. The incident occurred just before 1500 local time. An unspecified person fell into the running engine of the Embraer 190 aircraft, which was readying to take off for Billund in Denmark, operating flight KL 1341. The flight, which had a pushback time of 14:25, was scheduled to be operated by Papa Hotel Echo Zulu Lima, a 14-year-old Embraer regional jet. Posting on social media, Schiphol Airport offered the following statement. "Today, there was a horrible incident where a person ended up in an airplane engine. Our thoughts go out to the relatives, and we are caring for the passengers and colleagues who witnessed this. The Royal Military Police is currently conducting an investigation." Emergency crews carried out what was described as a massive response after reports came in regarding the tragedy. The Marechaussee later posted that all passengers and employees of the flight in question had been disembarked and are being taken care of. This suggests that the fatality has nothing to do with the passengers or crew. A spokesperson told Reuters that the deceased has not yet been identified and that it remains too early to determine whether it was an accident or a form of suicide. With so much information yet to be determined, we'll be sure to post any updates about this story on our website at simpleflying.com. There were several notable and tragic engine ingestion incidents in 2023. The first of these occurred on January 1st at Montgomery Regional Airport in Alabama, where a baggage handler for an American Eagle flight was ingested in a regional aircraft's engine. As reported by NPR, Courtney Edwards, a 34-year-old mother of three, approached the plane as the engines were still activated and a safety light was still illuminated. Months later, in late June 2023, a ramp worker at San Antonio International Airport tragically met a similar fate with a Delta Airlines Airbus A319. In this case, it was later determined that the 27-year-old took his own life. Our thoughts go out to those injured or related to the deceased as a result of these occurrences.